What do you guys got?
Well, what movie did you guys decide on?
Mockingjay.
Was Interstellar an option?
That was one of the options. Whatever's out
Good.
now.
I saw that the other night.
Is that right?
Yeah. Go early though, 'cause it's like 3 hours.
Really? It's good.
It's great. It was really good. Yeah.
So rank that above Dumb and Dumber.
I didn't see Dumb and Dumber yet.
I heard Dumb and Dumber is like one of the worst movies ever made.
Is that right?
I would not spend the money that you have.
So Interstellar will be number 2.
Yeah. Man, that's cold. No, it's number 1.
Yeah, but they've already voted for Mockingjay, so
yeah.
Mockingjay is number 1.
Well, you could do that.
If we
thing
can't
like
get
where you just,
Mockingjay,
like, go out of one theater and go into the other one.
I think with it being Thanksgiving break, they're sold out. So that's part of our problem right now.
James, was Ryan in practice today?
Yeah. Oh no, he was in meetings today. Awesome.
What was it like to have him back?
It was great. You know, haven't seen him in a while. You know, especially the guys. I mean, a couple of us went up to Hershey and saw him, but having him back is really good. You know, so he sat in meetings. He actually was here last night. In the training room, so a bunch of guys got to see him last night in the training room, and then everybody else got to see him in a team meeting today. So it was good.
Trying to take him on a trip or not?
Not this week. Our goal is to have him with us Friday night at the hotel next week and let him do the share. You know, in front of the team, get up and do the share, which would be awesome.
What does that mean? I'm sorry. Share.
The shares. We've talked about it a little. I apologize. Is the shares are what we do Friday night in the hotels. We actually did it throughout camp, where guys get up and they kind of tell their story, kind of where they're from, their family, and you'd be amazed as these guys have been together for 4 years. But a lot of times, you know, the specifics, the details, where they're from, some of the challenges they've had to overcome and things like that, they don't know. So it's been a really good team building and chemistry, exercise.
Hey Coach, what are some of your thoughts on Illinois' quarterback Wes One? I know he was injured early in the year. Have you done anything special to prepare for him? Or?
I like him a lot. We recruited the heck out of him. He came to camp with us, 7-on-7 camp at the last school we were at. I have a lot of respect for him. Was a big-time winner in high school, and was having a lot of success early in the year before he got injured. He's not a mobile guy, I would say. But you know, with the injury, I think he's probably a little less mobile than he's been. We expect to see the other quarterbacks a lot. We expect them to run the quarterbacks, and we expect to see a lot fake punts, onside kicks. We expect to see those types of things in this game, running the quarterback, those types of things.
James, you guys inside before on Wednesday what made you decide to come in, just the weather or something else?
Yeah, I found out that Penn State has a policy that if it's a certain temperature, you can't go outside. East Stroudsburg didn't have that. You know, we had really no other options. Shippensburg doesn't have that. Clarion doesn't have that. But certain temperature, you know, which probably makes sense. You know, you got to be careful going outside. So, you know, we just want to be smart from that standpoint.
What is that threshold? What is that temperature?
I don't know if I'm allowed to reveal the details of that. Yeah, I think it's like 15 degrees. 15 degrees or lower.
It seems like Christian has developed, excuse me, some bad habits as the season's progressed a little bit. As far as correcting those, is it as simple as waiting for the offensive line to get better for a longer period of time? Those problems will correct themselves, or is it a little bit more challenging than that?
Yeah, I don't agree with you. I think Christian has done some things that you know we'd like to get corrected. He's made a few choices that I think he'd like to have back. His footwork has been not like what he'd like it to be at times, but I would not describe it the way you've described it. I think you know what we see in practice every single day, and the more consistent that we get up front, I don't really view it that way.
Well, can you kind of, you know, the difference between maybe a bad habit and, you know, maybe not making the throws at the times, you know, he would want to make the throws. What is kind of the difference, and what have you seen from him as the season's progressed?
Well, I think a habit is habitual. It's an issue that happens over and over again. I don't see that. I see there's times where obviously the pressure's been in his face and he hasn't been able to follow through the way he'd like to follow through. Like all quarterbacks, there's a couple decisions I think he'd like to have back and we'd like to have back. There's been a couple times where his footwork has been affected, but that's how I see the difference.
Pretty sure you guys have drawn more penalties than any other team in the conference. Did you know that, and is that something you coach up, or is that just a resulting factor of guys playing hard?
Well, I think it's playing hard. I also think there's some things that we coach, like if a guy jumps into the neutral zone, we teach our guys to jump off sides. Some people try to snap the ball and use it as a free play and take a shot, and you can do that. But our thing is get the 5 yards. So if the guy jumps in neutral zone, it has to be someone across from you. Jump up into your pass set and get the 5 yards and move on. It's been a couple times we haven't done that. I think it would have been helpful, but I think that plays into it a little bit. I think on defense, it's how hard we're playing. When you twist and you move and you blitz and do all those things, you create holding penalties and things like that.
James, have you tried to shield Christian from some of the public narrative that is taking hold? Obviously you read everything, and you've seen some of the things that have been said about him. Do you try to keep him from seeing those same things?
I try to shield all of our players from as much of the noise as I possibly can, but it's hard to do now, like I've said to you guys before, with social media and Twitter and those types of things. And when you have 107,000 passionate fan base and over 600,000 alumni like we do, when you're winning and playing well, there's nothing better. When you lose a game or you don't play as well as you'd like, people can be tough. People can be tough. We just all have to remember these are young guys. They're 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21 years old. So yeah, I try to shield all of our players from it as much as we possibly can. To me, if there's ever going to be blame placed, I want the blame to be put on me. When things go well, I want the players and assistant coaches to get all of the praise. But to me, I want all the blame. If there's problems in the program, I want them to be on me, not the players, not the individuals.
You mentioned that you'll have some more freedom with the players next week. I'm assuming that opens up your practice schedule a little bit as well. Will you use that time to recruit, considering you're kind of coming down the stretch here? You might want to get a look at a couple extra guys in playoff games or anything like that?
Well, with it being game week, we'll go our normal game week schedule. Obviously, we go out during the season right now anyway, but it's not like we would do it more because you want it to be valuable. Typically, I like to go out on Fridays, go to the schools, maybe see a game, playoff game this time of year and things like that, but we wouldn't do anything different with the rest of our week schedule.
Angelo Mangiero was talking to us this afternoon, I guess it was, about his dyslexia. And when you took over, how did you guys talk about that? Because I know so much of coaching is teaching, and that's obviously a hurdle that impacts somehow.
Yeah, I'm gonna with issues like that. If our players want to share that sensitive personal information, I'm glad that they do that. That's awesome. I'm not going to talk about those types of things. It's not uncommon in our society now. It's not uncommon on college football teams. Not uncommon in the NFL. I know a lot of you guys are educators, and that's not uncommon now. But I'm not. I probably would not be comfortable getting into those things. If he wants to share that stuff, that's great. But I'm not going to get into those things.
Okay, well then how impressed are you with the versatility that he brings to this?
Oh, I love him. I'm a huge fan of his. I pulled him to the side the other day because I wanted him to know how much we appreciated what he's doing, because obviously if you play one position, you got a chance to become a master of your craft at that one position. If you're asking a guy to move around all the time from position to position to position, it makes it more difficult, but that's been the position we've been in, and that's what we've needed him to do. And I think he's handled it extremely well. And I think his confidence has grown, and his understanding of the big picture has grown. So I think a lot of times when you just play one position, you're so focused on doing your job rather than seeing how all the pieces of the puzzle fit together.
James, how close do you think you are to striking the sort of offensive balance that I'm sure most teams strive for? Last week, a lot of rushing yards, not so many passing. Earlier in the year, kind of the opposite.
I think, I know I keep saying this and you guys don't want to hear it, but I think we're really close. I mean, you look at the opening drive last week. We ran it and threw it down the field, scored a touchdown and got a questionable holding call that took points off the board. And right now I would say on offense, the talking about how close we are, it's confidence. Once we kind of start clicking and things going well, that's the difference, is having a confidence. Right now our defense is playing with a lot of confidence. Our offense needs to play with more confidence. So, I think we're really close in both areas. We've had some turnovers early on in games that I think have had a negative effect on us.
Hey, James, you mentioned in Nate's question about all the noise. What is it about the older guys that you see in them that they've been able to shut out that noise the last couple of years? Special characteristics or traits of those guys?
No, to be honest with you, I think it's probably no different than all of us. The more you go through it, the better you get at it. And let's be honest, those guys over the last 3 years, they've heard a lot of stuff from a lot of different angles and a lot of different perspectives, and you become a little bit more thick-skinned. You become a little bit more thick-skinned, whether it's specifically about you, or whether it's about your family, or whether it's about your team, or whether it's about your organization or community, whatever it is, it affects you. And it affects you because you care so much, and that's what I want. I want them to care. People making comments or saying things, it doesn't bother you unless you care about what you're doing, unless you care about what you represent. So I think the fact that those guys have been through it a lot in the last 3-4 years, whether it's change, whether it's criticism, whatever it may be, I think it helps.
Coach, take 2 more.
How big was last week for the confidence of guys like Christian Campbell, Marcus Allen, the young freshmen? Because they had an outstanding game. Did that kind of boost them going forward?
I think so, but I think, it's not like it went from they weren't having it and then I had this game that was so good. And I think those guys have gradually been building confidence with the amount of reps and experience and success they've been having all year long. Last week, it kind of came to, kind of a tipping point where it went from playing good to really playing special and having a huge impact in the game. So that's always good to see, and I'm happy for those guys. But I don't really see it as just being a last week thing.
Coach, you guys have gone 3-1 on the road. Has there been a key element for that success, or is it kind of a coincidence that you guys are playing on different atmospheres?
I think it's coincidence. I think it's opponents. I think it's a lot of different things. I think factor. I think it's the people we've played at home. I think it's the people we've played on the road. I think there's a lot of factors that go into it. We want to be a really good road team. We want to be a better home team. I think that's very, very important.
When you said about shielding guys, like, how do you do that? I mean, is it a matter of just, hey, don't have them talk to us, or is it a matter of just don't read what they're writing? Like, what do you do?
No, I can't. I mean, in the old days you could shield them from it, and now I don't know how you can. But what I try to do is I try to kind of explain the climate in college athletics now, the climate in sports in general, how our society is. That the negative stories sell, things like that, and it's a shame that that's how it is. And I'm not, I'm not criticizing. It's just that's what it is. They got to be careful. They got to have their guard up, and it's a shame that people reach out and have contact with players like that. But it happens, and it's not going to change. So what we just try to do is talk to them about blocking. I'm a huge blocker, and I want blocker, yeah, and I want them to do the same thing. I mean, you get anything negative on Twitter, do not respond. And once you start reading, it's negative. Don't keep reading it. Just block. They're welcome to have their opinion. You're welcome to block them. And they're the type of things that I just try to say. Just focus on things that are constructive and positive, and move forward, and block out all the other noise, or block with the actual button on your phone.
So most of us will probably be blocked by next year.
No. After the season's over, we're all going out to dinner, have a few drinks, enjoy ourselves, laugh. Thanksgiving,
bounce from movie to movie.
Go to movies, Thanksgiving dinner, yeah, whatever we need to do. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.